You know, it would be great if Photoshop had real transform, like you could make something 3D and really transform it around. Well, guess what? You kind of can. I mean, not really directly, but pretty easily if you have Photoshop and Illustrator. Here I've just taken the type tool in Illustrator and just created some text that's selected. And then I go into the effect menu and choose 3D, extrude, and bevel. And we're going to bring up this little command, and actually we'll probably just leave it just like that. This is what it's going to do. We can certainly rotate it around a little bit if you want to change the angle of something. You can certainly do that. Let's say we want to go with something that looks like that, just because we can. So we click OK, and now, because it's still selected, we can copy it, switch to Photoshop, and paste. But we're going to paste it as a smart object, and this is very important because this is what it lets us do. Now we can decide, I'm just going to scale it a little bigger. I'm using Option or Alt and the Shift key to scale it and make it proportional. And let's just put it down here so we can see it. But look in the Layers palette, you can see it actually is called Vector Smart Object. It has this little shape. So now if you're looking at it and you decide at this point, I don't really like the angle or the color or the font or anything, you simply double click on that smart object. It brings you back to Illustrator. Here's our artwork. And all you have to do is find the Appearance palette, select it, and there you'll see there's one of these effects. It affects our lie, which means if I double click on it, it brings me back. I can preview it, and I can decide, for example, if I want to change to some other angle. But that's not all. I can say, you know what, but really, it's not a sale. It's actually, if I could type, you can see I'm actually, in effect, typing in 3D. I just finalize however I want it to look. While we're at it, what the heck, let's change the color somewhat too, just so we can do that. Close it. You're going to get this message. Save it. And then we switch back to Photoshop and watch. Look at that. Changes. Keeps the same positioning I had, but changes on the fly. So I had to do a little more slowly because I want to show you, but basically that's as hard as it is. If you want to get 3D components built into Photoshop, do it this way. Start it in Illustrator. Do whatever you need to with your various 3D commands, and again, there's many options in here. I'm just showing you the beginning of it. All kinds of possibilities. Click OK. Whatever change you've made, close it. Save the changes. When you switch back to Photoshop, there we go, any change you make will be changed. Now the only thing you have to keep in mind is because it's a Vector Smart Object, there are certain things you cannot do, for example, paint on them, but there are things you can do. For example, you can add various things like drop shadows. So look at that. We have a drop shadow attached to our 3D. So let's cancel that. Click OK. And once again, now look what we've done. We've changed it. Let's rotate it slightly. So now we've made some changes to the 3D artwork. But check it out. Double click. Same idea. Select it. Whoops. Make whatever change we wish to make. Let's make it not extruded. Turn on that preview. Make it extruded just a little tiny bit less. Something like that. Click OK. Close. Save. Switcheroo. Changes, but the drop shadow's still there. Pretty interesting possibilities if you're willing to play a bit. The interaction between Illustrator and Photoshop. As always, of course, many possibilities of what kind of stuff you can do with this. Doesn't have to just be 3D, but if you want to make 3D editions, you can, of course, easily do that as you've just seen. I'm Dave Cross. I shall see you next time.